All right, guys, so we are on our second lesson of Unit 2, where we're going to start to set the scene of what Europe looked like leading up to the time period that we'll be studying. So we're going to go back to the Middle Ages. So please make sure that you listen to the audio that I have recorded reading this. But what we need to mostly understand from the Middle Ages is that the Catholic Church played a very large role in Europe, and it's what allowed Europe to unify. The Catholic Church was the main source of education, and there was a certain group of people who had the power and the knowledge to educate society. So there was definitely an imbalance in who was interpreting the Bible, for instance, and how they were sharing that interpretation with the majority of the population. Because most of Europe was relying on the feudal system, they were relying on their own farming. They weren't really trading outside of Europe because if we look at the date here, we're looking at the world prior to the age of exploration. There wasn't a lot of trading happening, so they were very self-sufficient, and there wasn't a lot of innovation or change during this time. This is an image of what a feudal manor looked like. As you can see, there's like a church, there's the house, everything is close together. So people stayed close to home. This is what the feudal social hierarchy looked like during this time. What brought an end to the Middle Ages and the feudal system in Europe was the Renaissance, which originated in Italy and spread throughout the rest of Europe. This was a time of advancements in art and science, thinking, trade, so on and so forth. And it's really trade which allowed for changes to be made in Europe because new ideas started coming into Europe. All of the sudden, the nobles were no longer the people with the most power. Merchants started to gain more power and more wealth in Europe. And this is a really cool time period because this is where we start to see very popular art that now inspires us in the modern day. So a few popular pieces of art here we can see. That's a fresco from the Sistine Chapel made by Michelangelo. The Mona Lisa was painted during this time. Great advancements in architecture. This is the Duomo. This is the very large church in Florence, which was the birthplace really of the Renaissance. Florence is in Italy. And then another popular piece of architecture would be the Trevi Fountain, which is in Rome. And then I've also included this video on YouTube, which explains how this dome, or this dome right here, specifically was built, as this was a very large advancement in architecture and building. So check out the video.